Welcome to Setlist Stand-Up Without a Net live at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival!
Where some of the UK's favorite comedians are coming on stage with no preparation whatsoever. We'll tell them what they're going to be talking about in stand-up created in the moment and under pressure.
Ladies and gentlemen, will you welcome the never-before-seen setlist of Mr. Marcus Brigstocke!
Thank you very much. It's good to be here. Fucking exciting at the Fringe, and on the way here, the maddest thing happened to me, and because there's a lot of shows at the Fringe, and a lot of different people come here, you know, and like not everybody's doing a good show, you know. That's the sad truth of the festival, you know, like everybody's trying to do a good show, that's why I like it, but there is one guy at this year's festival for whom, I gotta say, selling his show has been fucking hard, and I know because I'm in the same venue as him. And a lot of the lesbian gay community in Edinburgh have been going, hoping that it'd be really camp, but it isn't. It isn't really. It's just like a basic show. And at points, you know, he's like a lot of the dangerous comics. Like it gets pretty dark at points. Anyway, he just had a shitty old show tonight, and I went past him, and he's trying to hail a cab, and I was like, man, they're not gonna stop. Not like that, please. He's a nice guy. He's a nice guy. Yeah. So, I haven't always done stand-up. Before this, I ran a farm. That's where I got the shirt. And I ran a farm, and the farm that I ran was a farm originally. I was in sheep, and then I was caught, and then and so I wasn't allowed to do that, and so I had to move on to something that at least had a chance of outrunning me, and that is when I got into farming goats. But could I keep them in the pen? Could I fuck? You know, like they would just leg it. They'd scarper all the time, and they just fucking escaping. And that's when it struck me. The second worst idea I've ever had. And I set up initially like it was just like local tours, hill walks, stuff that I felt would appeal. I think where it broke down as a business model was when I chartered a plane to the Maldives. Now is a pretty oppressive Islamic state now, the Maldives. They still, no matter, like it's their place, their rules, right? But that was a massive overreaction to a plane full of goats. Inappropriate. They have beards. I thought at least that would curry some favour, but oh my fucking God, the fuss they made. Because like the boy goats were fine, but then the nanny goats had to wear veils and... fucking, it was a nightmare. All right. We reached that point in the evening, and I think we can all be honest about it, can't we? There isn't one of us here who isn't deep down on some level a fan of bukkake. Right? If you're not familiar with bukkake, it is the polite name they give to a form of pornographic entertainment. I don't know where it came from. Bukkake is the practice of a huge number of men. Well, in the stuff I look at anyway. I won't look at anything less than 50 men involved in bukkake scenes. And they just unload one after the other into a woman's face. And for me, that's always been a strange moment in porn, the coming on the face thing, because there's a requirement, isn't there, really, for the actress, and I do think of them as actresses, because so many of them are here at the Fringe. One of them is doing a show in which she plays Adolf Hitler, and it's a tough fucking sell. But they have to do a face that is a mixture of encouragement, but also, fuck me, that's disgusting. And a great many of them, of course, blinded by the force of seminal ejection. Oh, fuck, like this. So my favourite now, I like really niche porn. Really fucking niche. I like porn so niche that you can finish it on the internet that you can know that you've seen all of the available pages. Because that's like a Dave Gorman Google whack-off, right? It's difficult to do, to narrow porn down. So I now am looking just for the moment, really, where a girl who's already been blinded by the force of an ejaculation is just left with one eye, the representation, if you will, of the classical giant figure, the Cyclops with the famous one eye, then has to cope with the unleashing of spunk into that eye. There's a reason I don't do dirty comedy, ladies and gentlemen. It's because I can't maintain eye contact during it. And the irony of that, I'm no Mike Wilmot. All right, let's split into two groups. I was lucky enough early this year at the Hay-on-Wye Literary Festival to meet Hans Blix, Dr. Hans Blix, who was sent out to inspect weapons and also featured in a famous film, Team America World Police. And the moment they said, we're going to introduce you to Hans Blix, I was like, holy shit, this is a tense moment, because all I could think of was, oh, hello, Hans Blix. But this is true. He walked up to me and somebody said, Professor Blix, this is Marcus Brigstocke, comedian, and he said, hello, it is very nice to meet you. As you see, I have not been eaten by sharks. And I was like, yay! Yay. So, but I'm going to go with Kim Jong-il, because I like hip-hop, and he's just the illest. Kim Jong-un? Un what? And it's like the beginning of a French sentence. Kim Jong-un baguette. All right, so... All right. Well, as you know, it's a theme for me when I do stand-up to touch on mythical figures. I've already mentioned the Cyclops, and now I'm going to mention just a great guy from the Bible, just a made-up man who stood aboard the deck of an ark, smug as you fucking like, and watched everybody he knew and all the animals drown. Just near the edge of the ark like that, just like, yeah, well, it's all very well saying God's a dick, but we're okay up here. And I'm tempted to paddle the ark in your direction and beat you to death with an oar, because if you drown, your meat's gonna spoil, and I need something for the leopards. But Noah was at sea for a long time. They said 40 days and 40 nights, I think. It's a long time. He had his wife there, but she was busy. You know, there were pairs of animals to look after and stuff, and so he had to keep himself busy. And of course, God favored him so much. It wasn't just an ark he had him build. It was also a laptop. That was 1 cubit in 1 cubit for the laptop and another 60 for the hard drive. And and of an evening, he would look up things that he then had to delete, and it was embarrassing for him. It's embarrassing, but, you know, who knows what Noah looked at? Dirty fucker. I mean, when he eventually arrived at Mount Sinai, that laptop was clear of all memory. And you can be sure, ladies, if you don't have an internet history showing on your laptop at home, your partner wanks a lot. You can be absolutely sure of that. But regardless of Noah's being favored by God and the two of them watching all of the world drown and stuff, he was an inspirational figure. You know, he was the first man who decided to take goats from one place and sail them to another and give them a holiday. And without him, I would be nowhere. I wouldn't have set up my goat travel agency. That's it from me. You've been delightful. Thank you so much.